Peace everyone, this is Amira from the Belleza Artistica channel, and today I was gonna do the second part to the How I Got Started video series, hopefully. And so I want to start by, talking about how my grandmother and my great-grandmother, how they were artists and how they were really good at what they did. Um, I know I don't know a lot about my great grandmother because I never really got to meet her before she passed away. But I saw some of her work that she did um, when I went to California when I was about, I think it was like on my 12th birthday. We took a train out there and to visit my grandmother, and we went to the old store that they used to own in Hanford, and I think there was a point in time where my grandmother was living in that old store that they had owned for quite some time, and we were looking at like where she stayed in the store, which was like kind of like in this basement area thingy, and I don't know, we just saw a lot of things there, like in boxes of her work, and had saw a couple of carvings that she did, and there was one where I guess she used both of her hands to do it. Um, and I heard that she was also ambidextrous. She had taught herself to be ambidextrous, which is pretty cool. That's kind of like what I'm trying to do right now, following in great grandmother's footsteps. But yeah, my grandmother, she is when I got to interact with a lot more. Um, I used to go to her house while my mom was at work, and we just used to do like a lot of arts and crafts and stuff and puzzles, and she would read me books like a million times because I'd ask her to read this one book about soup. I don't know why I liked it so much because at the time I don't think I even really liked soup. Lots of good times, and um, I would ask her a lot about the artwork she had 'cause she had a lot. She had all of her stuff there, um, and it was just really cool stuff that I would always like to look at. And she would talk about them with me, and there's like so much stuff that I probably haven't even seen it all, but I have two of the pictures right here in the back. These are prints of some paintings that she did, and I don't know, she was always inspiring to me, and I always um, wanted to be an artist when I grew up. I loved doing arts and crafts in school. Whenever arts and crafts came up, I was all in. Um, I loved, and when I got a little bit older, my school actually had a program because our school had become an arts school, so they had you choose like two arts that you were going to study and do through the semester, and I chose art and um, theater. And I remember my art teacher at that time was Mr. Davis, and he was pretty cool. He was like an artsy type fellow. He really loved arts. He wasn't just like somebody that was put to be the art teacher. He really loved art, and he was always very encouraging of all the students' work, and it was like just a very accepting atmosphere, and it was really cool. And I remember so many projects that we did there, like we did a sewing class in there. Um, we did painting. Um, I think we even at one point made paper mache masks. There's just like always something, and I think we even did pottery classes there too. I really loved the pottery classes because we got to make our own little mugs, and we got to paint them, and it was cool. I don't know if I still have it or if my mom has it. I don't know. But it was, it's a memory nonetheless that I have dear in my heart. But and even when I was even when I left public school to do homeschooling after some point, my mom signed us up for some art classes at the local rec center so that we could, interact with other kids and also, get out there and, do something because we had to walk to the rec center from our house to go do these classes because I think my brothers did swimming class and then we also were a part of fishing class, which is ironic because I can't even eat fish, but I know how to fish. So I don't remember the teacher's name, but she was pretty cool. I don't think like she was like really that into art, but she knew how to do a few things, which was cool. She taught us how to do embossing. I remember for a couple of weeks, or a few weeks actually, we were working on our clay pots and whatnot. And I remember it was funny because like me and my sister and my brothers were in this class together, the pottery class. And I don't know, like I was serious about it. So I made a teapot and a teacup, and I was really serious about it. I was doing all the techniques that I had learned before when I was in public school. Um, and then I just applied them to that point, and you know, people and other people in our class were like, how come she comes in here, she's new, and we're all new to this, and she's over here just like killing it, just doing it, and what they didn't know was like I had done it before. So I think there was one point where my sister was making her teapot, and she had been working on it for a couple of days, and for some reason one of my brothers smashed it, just hit it with their hand like a hammer, just smashed it. And the teacher got so mad at my brother, and I don't know, young boys, they're very destructive and just like to destroy things. But anyway, we were always kind of a crazy bunch of kids. I don't know. But moving on. I mean, I could do like endless hours of drawing, uh, doing crafts and things. Like our mom would take us to like Hobby Lobby or whatnot, and I would just to me that was like a toy store at like that time. Those times that we used to do that, I was like 12, 13, 14 years old. So I was making some money off of allowance and doing some babysitting work and stuff at the time. So I would just take that money and I would buy all kinds of crafting supplies and knick-knack thingies, and I would just have a ball in there. But then, after my long stretch of, always having some creative outlet as far as, drawing and doing arts and crafts goes, there was a time where I had just fallen into like an artist block. I couldn't draw anything. I didn't want to do any arts and crafts stuff like that. And I just, it just felt like all my creativity was gone and I just couldn't get it back for the life of me. I would try so hard to draw, but it just seemed like I was always drawing the same thing again and again. So I took a break. I just said, you know what, maybe art isn't my thing, because at the time, like even a few months before that artist block, I was thinking, that I wanted to make art my career when I grew up. Like I wanted to be some type of artist, like graphics design or just something in the arts. And at that point, I was like, well, I guess I should just pick something else. Then I got into poetry. It was very fascinating to me. I used to use a thesaurus a lot, like I used to just read. At that point in time, a lot of my life was reading. And when I got the artist block, I was 14. And when I got into poetry, I was about 14, going on 15. So I was always reading books because at that time, we had internet, but it was like AOL, it was dial-up and stuff. And it was very, that's what we had, but it was so slow that sometimes I just didn't even feel like messing with it. The only time I was going online was to check emails. But yeah, like around that time, um, I was just reading a lot of books. I used to read a lot of poetry books. Most of the time I was reading the dictionary, trying to learn new words, trying to broaden my vocabulary. Um, I used to read the thesaurus because I always wanted to find words that were, not so ordinary. And at one point, I actually bought a digital thesaurus so that I could bring it around with me wherever I went, because I used to carry around this satchel that I would carry my notebooks and pens, and just in case I got inspired, I wanted to be able to write it down right away. So I would just be writing away, writing all these poems all the time, or writing pieces to poems and then sticking them together. It was cool. I really liked that point in time because going back to elementary school, I wasn't really ever good with grammar, which, I kind of slipped back into some of the bad habits of grammar, but some grammar no-nos. But back then, I was all on top of it when I was like 15, 16, my poet years. And yeah, it was interesting the way I used to dress too. I was very, I don't even know how to explain the way I was dressing, but I was trying to be different. I wasn't trying to follow the trends of everyone else. I wanted to make my own way. I used to have my little hat. I used to wear a hat over my scarf, long sleeve turtlenecks all year round. These things that used to be like sleeveless dresses, but I used them as vests. And then I would wear jeans all the time. Jeans. And that was my style. And I always had my satchel with my activist protest buttons all over them. So, yeah, that was pretty much the picture of what I looked like back then. And I didn't wear a niqab back then. That was a new thing, and maybe I'll talk about that later. There was a certain point where I got writer's block, and I just couldn't write anything anymore. I had no new ideas. And eventually, I gave that a rest, and this kind of takes me into maybe the next video, which I'm probably gonna start ending this one, but I'm gonna leave you with a quick story. Around that time, I started really trying to get married, and contrary to popular belief, guys, I was the one who wanted to get married. My parents weren't looking for me, or they didn't have somebody set up for me, guys. I didn't have an arranged marriage. I didn't know who my husband was gonna be, and I knew that I was gonna be the one to pick them. So and my parents, they let me head this the search, or the I don't know what to call it, the hunt, not the hunt, but I don't know, guys, what to call it. Whatever it was, I was the head of it, and I was doing all the research, and I was doing the statistics watching, and I was reading all of these, articles, and on both sides, whether marriage is good or not for young people, because at that time, when I was starting, I was like maybe 17, and by the time I got married, I was about 18. So, but I had been doing research even 2 years prior to that, because I just wanted to be ready. I'm one of those people that likes to be ready for whatever's coming. I don't want to be blindsided. I want to know. I want to know what I'm getting myself into when I'm making a big decision, such as choosing your life partner. Yeah, so I didn't go in blind. Long story short, I found the guy that I was looking for. I married him, and here I am 8 years later. So we'll continue the rest of this story in another video. My trip to Trinidad and Tobago, and stuff like that. And that will be a really fun video because I love talking about my trip to Trinidad and Tobago. Stay tuned for that, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You may hear my kids knocking on my door, so that means it's time to go. So anyway, thank you for watching. Peace.